Welcome to another top 5 with Kris 05, guys. Today I'm gonna give you 5 of the best decks after the latest nerfs, so you guys know what you should be playing with, as well as what you should be expecting to play against. If you're serious about Hearthstone, you definitely want to subscribe to my channel, because I give you guys top 5 meta reports on a weekly basis, or sooner if needed, detailed deck guides, free coaching gameplay videos, and a lot of Hearthstone guides in general, so you definitely could learn a lot on this channel if you wanted. Don't forget you can also hire me for some Hearthstone coaching, and you can be sure I'll do my best to help you hit easy legend. Now, let's get into it.
You are not prepared!
Before we get into the best decks, I'd like to talk about one of my favorite games right now. Some of you already notice that I have been playing this game for over 1.5 years now, and I have really been loving it, and I even started myself a new YouTube channel for it, with some really in-depth guides and some high-quality content. The game I'm talking about is Raid Shadow Legends, and I would really appreciate it if you check out my new channel, and if you still haven't played Raid, I really think you should. I know some people talk down on it and meme about it, but the game truly is amazing, so trust me, don't knock it till you try it. It truly is one of the best RPGs out there in the genre, and you can play it both on your PC and on your phone, and the graphics are stunning on both. And the art on some of these champions is truly unmatched, like, look at this. Right now it's one of the best times to start playing Raid, and you can do so through my download link, both in the pinned comment or in the description, or from my QR code on screen, and you will get your hands on two of the best epic champions in the game, Rector Draft and Ugo, both of which are absolute monsters of champions, and are considered endgame worthy epics, even to this day. You can also get your hands on one of the best legendaries in the game for PvP, which is Sun Wukong, just by going to your promo codes and writing Monkey King in the first 24 hours of your new account. The other big reason why it's such a good idea to start Raid right now would be the new Alice in Wonderland event that is live right now, and you can grab yourself an amazing legendary champion, Alice, just by logging in for 7 days. And honestly, look at how cool some of these champions are, and some of them are really truly super powerful. This is a limited time offer, so you should really not miss out on these amazing opportunities. Download Raid Shadow Legends through my link in the description or the pinned comment, or you can use my QR code and get all of these amazing rewards for free. See you on the battlefield. Well, the first deck on the list, to no one's surprise, would be Terran Shaman, and you guys probably noticed that this was the first deck guide I pulled out after the latest patch came through, and for good reason. Terran Shaman is still tearing it up, it's super fast, it's super hard to play around, and you have plenty of damage, plenty of nasty stuff in it. And you're also the Battlecry variant with the Turbulus, so you are gonna be cheating out a lot of extra stats you shouldn't be. The deck is definitely not too hard to play with. We are running all of the good new Terran cards for Shaman, and they are working beautifully for it. You can definitely check out my detailed guide about this deck as well as my gameplay so you have a better idea how to play with it. But in general, it plays out kinda like the Swarm Shaman from not too long ago. You still are able to OTK people as soon as turn 5 or 6 with a bunch of Bloodlust. It's not exactly an OTK, but you get it, it's a lot of damage out your ass. And we also have a single copy of Horn of Windlord in here, so you can actually use it more often than not as a control tool, but it's also 12 damage on a stick. Matchup-wise, here's what the stats are so far, and you might have some trouble with Dungar Druids and Terran Warriors, but everything else from the popular matchups is gonna be hella green. Mulligan-wise, here are the updated stats, and going first, you are gonna be looking for your good Terran cards like Starport, like Yesivi, Turbulus is obviously a no-brainer. A good one-drop like Murloc Grothin would also be making the cut, obviously. Gorgon's Arm was pretty nice on curve, Liftoff is pretty good as well, Missile Pod, and if you already have a good one-drop, Trusty Companion might also make the cut. Technically speaking, if you do have Pop-Up Book and Trusty Companion, that also would be a consideration in my book, because turn 1 Pop-Up Book into turn 2 Trusty on the Pop-Up Book gives you a guaranteed backstage bouncer, which would be a massive turn 4. For other good Shaman decks, you're gonna have to scroll a lot to see anything different than the new Terran Shaman. But we can still see things like Battlecry Shaman. This is honestly kinda Swarm Shaman, I guess. Yeah, this is Swarm Shaman from before without the Terran package, and it's doing far worse than it used to. And some people are still trying the Infinity Fizzle Shaman, I guess. I'm not really sure if people are really still playing this. I guess some just didn't get the memo, and the deck is working terribly now without the Infinity aspect, it seems. I've also heard people still playing things like Big Shaman, like the Battlecry Shaman with the big Battlecry package, but all around right now, if you want to be climbing, Terran Shaman would be the way to go, by far, hands down. On the numbers 2 spot, another big winner out of the patch seems to be Zerg Warlock, and this deck really surged in popularity and power. Like, look at this. It was all the way down to 40%, then people kind of learned what to do with it. Then the meta shifted into Fizzle, and after the patch, boom, 60 plus. Real strong stuff. And I do have a detailed guide about this deck as well, or a pretty close variant to it. This one is actually running the Death Knight package, more like the Death Knight Taurus, so you can have access to things like Soul Searching. And yeah, really seems like it's doing hella good right now. You should be having a blast with it. And for Soul Searching, I guess you could be looking for extra copies of your Seaside Giants, or for your locations, or heck, even for things like your Titan, your Kerrigan, that kind of stuff. The deck is super powerful, super cheesy, and you are no stranger to turn 4 triple 8/8s on the board. More often, double 8/8s. If we gotta be completely honest, but yeah, the deck is very strong. Matchup-wise, we can see not that much stats just yet, but Terran Warrior might be a little bit of an issue. But the good news is you're gonna be great against the 2 other heavy hitters, which would be Terran Shamans and Zerg Death Knights, which are literally half your matchups. Mulligan-wise, we can see you're gonna be holding on to your good locations, the Nidus Worms, heck, even the Spine Crawler apparently is not a bad keep, which I did not run in my last variant of the deck, but apparently it's real good. Loken is a little bit suspiciously high here, but he definitely has some big high rolls like Sargeras, like Ceaseless, that kind of stuff. The Forge of Wills could be a good keep if you have the Ultralisk location already, I'd say. This one also runs Horizon's Edge, so that's one extra layer of locations for you. It's a little bit on the iffy side if you ask me, but apparently it is working well. And if you have some good curve going, you might even consider the Seaside, I'd say. Consume could also be a keep if you have the Ultralisk Caverns. As for on the coin, again, it's much of the same stuff, but here things like Domino Effect would make a little bit more sense too, in my book. For other good Warlock decks, you're not really gonna find anything other than Zerg Location Warlocks right now, so yeah, that would be your best bet. This is the one I showed you. This is another decent variant again with the Death Knight stuff. I think this is the one I had a guide about, so it's also doing kinda good, but obviously not as good as the Death Knight variant. On the number 3 spot, we have another Zerg deck here, and this time it's gonna be Zerger Hunter, and I gotta say, I've been seeing this deck on ladder here and there, and it definitely is quite scary, quite powerful, and it's quite flexible too. Like, the Grunter Hunter is a very linear deck by itself, like, if you get the big Grunter, you win, if it gets pulled, you kinda lose. Whereas this one also has another line of defense. You could go for some Kerrigan shenanigans with the Brute Queens, you could buff up your Zerglings super huge, like if you have Char and a couple of 1/1s in your hand, if you Char something like a 1 Health Idiot, you're gonna get a couple of 7/7 Zerglings that way, and that can be absolutely huge as soon as turn 4 or 5. You also could be buffing these Zerglings with all sorts of other different stuff. So yeah, this deck is a lot more flexible. And it's actually not even running the Grunter now that I said it. It's literally just all about the Zerglings action here with the help of the locations, but you're still running all sorts of different buffs. You have the Evolution Chamber, which is working beautifully. You have your Bird Watching, so you can maybe find your Zerglings that way, and that's gonna buff up all of your Zerglings, including the ones you've gotten from your location, as long as you have already gotten him in your hand, that is. We also have things like Patchwork Pals, Titan Force Traps, Celestial Shot of all people, which is kind of weird. And I guess the big idea behind this one is Celestial Shot and then you go Char, and that way you could buff even harder. The deck is definitely looking interesting. I might give it a try on my stream soon, so be on the lookout for a video about it. But until then, let's go ahead and see what the matchups are looking like. And the only bad one from the popular ones would be the Terran Shaman, which is kind of a downer, because Terran Shaman is definitely super popular, but the rest are doing quite well. Mulligan-wise, here's what we have so far. Obviously, the location is always going to be a no-brainer for you. Bird Watching as well, since you only have Zergling as a minion, as well as Ranger Gilly, so you're basically guaranteed to get your Zerglings here. Interesting thing is, we're not even running What's-Her-Face in here, your Discover Legendary cards, but apparently the deck is working great like this. Things like Reserve Spot might also be a consideration straight off the bat, especially if you have a way to get the Zerglings nice and quick. Couple Muscle is alright, Tracking is okay, Evolution Chamber apparently is kinda on the up and up, but probably all of these are kinda situational if you already have the location or the Zergling, or at least the Bird Watching. On the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. For other good Hunter decks, this is the one I showed you. It has a decent amount of sample size already. Anything above 500 games is decent enough for me. Especially for this small of a time frame. 60% win rate definitely ain't no joke. And we can see 4% lower almost. Another a variant of this same Zerg deck basically, which is running some other stuff, including a Rexar's Gift. That's the first time I see that card ever. But we can also see some plenty of variants of Grunter Hunters. The cool thing about the Grunter Hunter is it was feeding on all of the Infinity Terran Shamans, but with those out of the way, they're not as strong nowadays it seems, so apparently Grunter has been falling off. We can also see things like Secret Hunters doing kinda okay, but they're obviously not as popular as they used to. On the number 4 spot, we have Protoss Priest, which is again a deck I have shown a guide for. Really strong, I really enjoyed it, we won a lot with this one. And this one is looking very powerful, very spicy. It's exactly the same list I showed you. I'm probably still in the VODs even, or not. Maybe it has a 1 or 2 card difference here and there. I think we had only a single Deafen in my list, so there's that. Yeah, we definitely had 2 Shadow Ascendants. But yeah, this deck ain't no joke. Turn 4 Lethals, you're no stranger to those, apparently in Standard. That's the Standard now. And you can do some absolutely broken things, including summoning yourself a 3/4 Zealot, giving it a couple of 0-mana Orbital Halos, and copying it a couple of times with Hallucination, and boom, that's literally 21 damage from hand, guys. It is kinda insane. Obviously, it's not gonna happen very often, but it can happen, and that is scary. Again, definitely check out my detailed guide about the deck. It's definitely not as simple as it looks. You could do some obscene amounts of damage, including things like 16 damage acupunctures with the help of your parrots. You could also be using the parrots with Hallucination. It is actually super strong, super quick. Matchup wise, Terran Shaman still not your friend apparently, but everything else is decent, so you got that going for you, which is nice. For the mulligan, again, here are the updated stats. We can see that you are going to try to curve out nicely with your good 1-drops, but don't keep too many of them. Orbital Halo, especially if it's in the middle of your hand, would be amazing. If you have a 1-drop Shadow Ascendant is absolute MVP, the Trusty Fishing Rod is alright, the rest probably not so much. And on the coin, again, we have plenty of the same stuff, so be smart about the mulligan phase. For other priests, we can also see Zarimi Priest has been doing quite alright. This is the list I showed you, 58%, almost 1000 games, ain't no joke. And this is the one I think I have the guide for with a single card difference, 56%, also super strong. We can also see things like Cole's Priest are doing okay, but nothing of the control-y kind doing that amazingly well so far. Here's a Protoss Priest apparently doing somewhat okay. By somewhat okay, I mean it's above 50%, which is more than we can say for most of these. So if you're trying to get some Protoss Priest action like the real, proper Protoss Priest action, this might be something worth exploring. And on the last spot, we also have a 5th mini set deck. All of these decks, this I think is the first time a mini set has been having this much impact. It's super impactful. It's nothing but new decks, or at least decks that rely super heavily on the new cards. And yeah, the last one is Zerg Death Knight, and this is the Double Frost 1 Unholy Rune variant. And yeah, I've played with this deck for a while now. It is definitely very strong. A lot of people have been hitting Easy Legend with this thing. And it's just very powerful. The main reason why this deck is super powerful is because of the Infestor, and the way this buff works. It's basically not a buff, it's actually an aura for you. Like for the rest of the game, your minions have +1/+1, and this works even on your reborn minions. I know a lot of people already know this, but for those that don't, yes, this is working properly. Even your reborn minions are getting the +1 after they get down to 1 health. They still get plus the amount of buffs they have accumulated through Infestors, and that is absolutely broken. The other absolutely broken card in here would be the Viper, which can pull off some really key minions from the opponent, and not only that, but it's also giving Reborn on all of your Zergs on the board, which is absolutely huge. We also have Yelling Yaddler in here, which you could be using straight up on your Infestors, or better yet, you could also use it on minions that have the Infestor buff twice. Like with the help of Death Growl, if you manage to play 2 Death Growls on an Infestor, and then Yelling Yaddler on one of the side minions, that's gonna be +4/+4 straight off the gate, which is absolutely broken. And another thing that's absolutely broken in the deck is obviously Kerrigan. Again, check out my detailed guide about this deck, it is definitely very worth the watch. For the matchups, we can see Hero Power Druid is one of your worst ones, and from memory also Weapon Rogue is gonna be beating you to a pulp, but we're not seeing too much Weapon Rogues nowadays it seems, so you should be climbing with ease. For the mulligan, you're trying to curve out as best as you can. Location, Infestor, Miracle Salesman, Tempo, Brittle Bone can be absolutely broken. The Harbinger is also real nice, and if you're curving into it, Nidus Worms or Brute Queen can also make a good amount of sense. I'd say Dreadhound Handler also makes a lot of sense in most cases. And on the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff, so but here we can even see Death Growl being a bit better on the keep list, and a key tip for this deck I do give in the guide is try to be playing your Death Rattle minions on the far right so you can actually combo up Death Growl with your hero power as well as your far right Death Rattle. For other good Death Knight decks, I think this is the one I showed you. It's a little bit lower on the win rate. I really believe this deck should be doing a little bit better than that, but who knows. And we can see that all of the top variants are indeed double blue, one green, even though we can also see some rainbow variants doing okay, some double red variants doing okay, but it's all about the Zergs nowadays, so be smart about what deck you want to play right now. That's about it for the top 5 decks. Like I said, it's nothing but the new stuff, and that's pretty refreshing to be honest. Like, we haven't seen this much of a shakeup in the meta from the entire expansion, let alone from a mini set before. So I, for one, am happy that this actually happened. And let's move down and see what the other classes are doing, starting off with Demon Hunter, and so far Demon Hunter is absolute dog ass. Like, I don't think I remember a time where Demon Hunter has been this bad, and I'm kind of surprised honestly, because on day 1 the Zerg package was doing beautifully for Demon Hunter, but now that is simply not the case. Some people did manage to hit Legend with some aggro Demon Hunters before the patch came through, but right now it seems like it's even worse than before. For Druids, right now it's actually surprising to see Taunt Druid is at the top. This is a interesting change of pace, but apparently this Taunt Kill Jaden Druid is doing quite alright again. I guess with all of the faster aggro decks, this thing is doing quite well against those. Dungar Druid seems to be on the low. I really thought it's gonna remain super powerful, apparently not so much. Hero Power Druid is still pretty strong, and it is a new deck, but it is sitting at a pretty average 55% win rate, so it's basically a tier 2 mid deck. And the rest is iterations of these 3 basically. We still don't have a straight up good Protoss Druid, and I don't believe we're gonna get one anytime soon. With Mage, honestly, I could have included Elemental Mage right now for today, because this one is definitely doing better than the Death Knight Zerg deck, but I don't know. It just feels a lot better to show you something new and refreshing, even though right now it's kind of a long shot calling Zerg Death Knight new and refreshing because it has been rising so much in power, but for real, like both the Elemental decks are doing quite alright still. They're basically free to play and they are decently strong. What also is decently strong is actually Protoss Mage. I did give you a video about a similar variant which is doing quite alright, and it's pretty fun and enjoyable to play, so you definitely might want to be giving that one a check. But that's about it for the Mage class so far, even though I have been seeing people like Jambray trying some interesting stuff with Sith Mage again. So far, the stats are not supporting it. With Paladin has seen better days, guys, like damn. Terran Paladin apparently is the best way to go right now, and for the first time in ever, hand buff Pally is under 50%, like damn. I for one did not expect this to happen. I don't think anyone expected this to happen, to be honest. But apparently hand buff is not all it is cracked up to be. Moving down to Rogue, which is actually a big winner of this patch. We saw a lot of Chinese players actually do amazingly well with this new Protoss Rogue, and I did try it yesterday. I will be giving you a deck guide about it tomorrow probably, so be on the lookout for that. And I did try this deck, and it was feeling really, really nice, like super strong. I did even manage to hit Legend with it, so it's definitely pretty powerful. But for now, we still see that things like Weapon Rogue are at the top. This one is not that much at the top, like this is 59, this is 54, so quite the discrepancy here. But this one has a lot more sample size, so that probably means something. But yeah, for now it's either Weapon Rogue or Protoss Rogue. I've also seen some other weird Discover Weapon Rogues out there, but so far it hasn't really caught on. And lastly we have Warrior, and I could have just as easily shown you a Terran Warrior instead of the Zerg Death Knight, but I don't know, I just believe the Death Knight is truly the easier deck to be hitting easy Legend with, whereas Warrior, it takes a certain type of player to actually do well with. And I did try some variants of Terran Warrior last night, didn't do specifically well with any of them, but yeah, the stats are definitely showing that Warrior is doing quite alright with the Terran iteration. And the Fizzle nerf didn't really hurt it all that much. We can actually still see some variants run Fizzle. just for the sake of them using it one more time, it's still pretty strong. Like even just one more Gem Rain or just one more Celestial could be that much more powerful. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this top 5, guys. Hope this helps you figure out what deck you want to be taking to Easy Legend this month. Don't forget to download Raid through my download code in the description or from the pinned comment, and also check out my new YouTube channel. It would truly mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching. I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.